We good to go? Cool, cool. Thanks everyone for coming to Bypass 101. This is the first of a two-part series. This will be about 30 minutes, and then the next talk will be Bypass 102, which will be another 30 minutes. We'll be talking a little bit about lock bypass, and then in Bypass 101, and then in 102, we'll be talking about the remediations and how to prevent some of the bypasses that we've talked about in this talk. My name is Terry.
And I'm Matt.
Sorry. And yeah, very happy to be giving this talk. So when you guys think of lock bypass and physical hacking, oftentimes people think of lockpicking. Now, while lockpicking does oftentimes have its place as a tool in your toolkit, a lot of the times there will be other ways around a lock outside of the attacking the lock specifically. This is known as lock bypass. Oftentimes it can be useful as another tool. Oftentimes it can also be quicker and less damaging than lock picking. So this is, I'll be showing a couple of different videos. This is one example of lock bypass where you can see the lock is working perfectly. Oh, hello? Where the lock is working perfectly fine, but if you go through the metal slot, you can very easily reach through and open the door from the other side. There's also this example where you can see a perfectly good latch lock, and with the caveat that this is indeed a sliding door. And so, yeah, due to, installation errors, oftentimes errors in manufacturing, there are other ways around locks other than lockpicking. So I'm going to talk a little bit about latch-targeted bypass. Actually, Matt's going to talk a little bit about latch-targeted bypass now.
So latch-targeted bypassing is some of the most commonly placed doors that you're going to see in the everyday world, both in residential and in commercial spaces. The process by which you bypass these locks is called carding. Carding allows the latches in the door to be held closed, either pushed or pulled. We're going to talk about the two different methods of either shoving and or pulling the latches. We've seen this process done in movies and TV shows all the time, where an individual will just take like a thin piece of material and just swipe it down the door. It's not that different, but it's not that easy either. So we're going to dive into the methods of how you do that properly here. The requirements of carding properly involve deactivating the dead latch, which is an additional piece of material inside of the lock, which will need to be pushed down in addition to the latch itself in order for the door to be opened. So when that dead latch there is actuated, the door itself is going to be locked, and that acts as an additional security measure to keep the doors secure. So we have a visual here as well, just showing the dead latch in action. So there's when both of them are actuated, you can open the door, but when that dead latch alone is pushed down, you cannot move that latch inwards in towards the door. So in order to deactivate a dead latch, sometimes the door is installed in such a way that the dead latch is already inside of the hole of the strike plate. So it's important to make sure that when you are installing strike plates into your doors, that if you have a dead latch lock, that latch is also actuated by an additional piece of metal material that you see coming out right there, and it's not just within the hole that the actual latch will go into. There's a variety of different tools that you can use. There's the standard latch slip that you'll see up at the top, as well as any other piece of flat metal alongside the bottom there, and you can fashion your own tools using different pieces of wire and keychain hangers as well. They work best for carding and pulling. So this is the pulling method right here. After ensuring that the dead latch is not actuated, you place whatever tool that you're trying to use, ideally something with a hook like a traveler's hook or a bent piece of metal as you see here. You place the latch slip tool behind the latch itself and you wiggle the latch into place, pulling it open and then opening the door, again ensuring that that dead latch is not actuated. Without removing the tool from the door, you pull it open and you are good to go. Shoving is the opposite method by which you insert a piece of material in such a way that it moves the latch from the outside inwards rather than from the inside outwards. So you shove the tool in between the latch and the strike plate, and without removing the tool again, hold the latch down, and open the door, and you should be good to go. So I'm going to pass it along to Terry now to talk about handle-targeted bypassing.
Yeah, so this form of bypass is is used, like Matt said, with anything with a handle. So this targets the handle as if, and it simulates as if someone from the inside is coming outside. And the reason why this works is oftentimes for accessibility reasons, for ease of use reasons, even sometimes when the outside of the door is locked, the inside you'll be able to open it without inserting and turning a key. Oh, and by the way, for carding and for handle targeted bypass, you'll be able to practice all these techniques and try them out at our village just outside the doors straight ahead, if any of you guys are interested after the talk. So for this, all you really need is a piece of wire and a string. And you, as mentioned before, it targets like these kinds of lever handles. Some of them will be easier than others to attack. As you can see here, here are the instructions. But I think what would be easier and more understandable is a video. And so you can see on the left is the inside of the door. So that's the part where you're simulating someone opening from the inside, and that's unlocked. On the right hand is from the outside where the door is locked, and you just bend, you use the tool, and put it under the door, navigate it to under to where it is between the door handle and the door, and just do a little push. One second, sorry. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about doorknobs. So these are very much similar in principle, although a little bit more difficult. They are thankfully a little bit less common now. Just due to accessibility reasons, as I mentioned before, door handle is much more accessible for people with disabilities than like doorknob would be. So you build a similar tool and use the you'd essentially use the piece of string, and you can add any piece of like rubber, anything to add friction onto this piece. Test. You'd add any piece of like, you could also add any piece of rubber or anything to add friction to the string to open the doorknob. And you can see here an example. So the tool is on the very bottom left-hand side of the door. You can see it's moving up. And for all of these, you can really tell where the handle is from the outside, from the inside, by taking a look at the outside. And so you move it up to the same vertical height, move it around, and then using a fair amount of force, you can open the door. And there's our lovely village member, Karen.
So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about crash bars and push bars. These are commonly seen exits in commercial spaces as well as just in everyday life. So there's a key difference between crash bars and push bars, and the first one we're going to talk about is a crash bar. That's going to be this one here that has the long rod at the bottom here. There are different entry methods using for both of these different ones, so we're going to just make sure that we understand the clear distinction. They rely on that handle piece at the bottom, and the tool that you're going to use to open these utilizes that handle piece by way of a bent metal hook that through the door, similar in form to the under the door tools we just showed you. You go through the door itself, hook it onto the bar, and then using the string and wire, you pull the door open from the outside. So all you need to do is have a crash bar on the other side of the door and ensure that there's enough space beside the door in order to fit the tool. A lot of the time, these types of doors will have little bits of fabric or rubber on the side to help with insulation practices, and that'll help you get that tool inside of the door itself. So you insert the tool through the side of the door and start from the bottom and move up, rotate the tool until the hook lands on the bar, and then pull down on the string and it will let you inside. So we have some visual aids here as well, just in photos this time. So you insert from the bottom, move towards the frame, upwards, attach to the bar. We have a video here, and then pull in and you should be good. So we have it going up from the bottom there, and then once you make contact with that handle side, you're good to pull that string on the back end, give it a fair bit of force, and you are good to go inside. So push bars, the other part of this series here, are these more horizontal, elongated bars that you need to push with your hands on the inside, and oftentimes do not have an exterior counterpart to let you out. So they can be a little bit more difficult due to there being less things to hook onto, making your access points a little bit more limited. But however, the most common places that you see these typically allow for other forms of bypass procedures. So this tool here might be the simplest one that we can show you here. It's just going to be a piece of stiff wire or string and positioning the string ideally in a hook or an L shape throughout the door that you see here. Oftentimes you'll see these in outside environments where there will be holes or a gate in which you can insert the tool from above, retrieve it from the bottom, and then it'll allow you to pull the bar from the outside. So again, feed the piece of string through the top door or hole above, use the wireless pieces to finesse the string over the push bar and through the bottom of the door into the hole below. Grab both ends of the strings and pull. So we have a visual aid of that here again. There is another method where you can just reach around if the holes are big enough. This is one that we saw here, and it's sometimes that simple to bypass these procedures there. We always encourage people to just look for any opportunities that they have to identify security risks within physical security infrastructure. The other and more simple option here for these types of doors is to pull really hard. Yes, we are serious about that. A lot of the time, these doors are not manufactured properly or they're old, and you are able to, if you have enough strength and the ability to, grab onto them and just pull them. The latches on these doors are not often as strong as lever-targeted doors, so they can be pulled with a strong enough arm. The only tool you need is just a good pair of biceps yourself, and test your luck. Not all doors are pullable, but a surprising number of them can be. Look for loose door frames, anything with weak infrastructure around it, older style doors. Multi-bank doors are often pullable also as well. So instructions for use is to pull the door really hard. If it opened, enter. If it didn't, pull again, and you are good to go. I'm going to pass it along to Terry to talk about removing the hinges.
Thank you, Matt. So a lot of the times, you can also remove the hinges in order to bypass the lock, bypass the door. There are two main methods that we're going to be talking about today. First of all is if the actual screws are exposed, you can just take a screwdriver and just unscrew the door from the hinges. So this is the easiest. There's also, so you'd unscrew the hinges, remove the door, and then enter. And then there's also, sometimes you can remove the hinge pins. And so these work when, sometimes the screws of the actual hinges are not exposed, but the actual hinge is from the outside. And so for this, what you need is is a hammer, a nail or a screwdriver, something for which to actually remove the pin, and a pair of vice grips doesn't hurt for ergonomics sake. As mentioned before, for this to work, you need the hinges to be exposed from the outside. As well, there are remediations, there are solutions to prevent this, which will be expanded more upon in Bypass 102. But if there are security hinges that have set screws or stud hinges for which this will not work. And again, some instructions, although we also do have a video. And so I will do a little bit of explaining, where you can see from the bottom, Karen again is using a pair of vice grips and a nail and a hammer to remove the bottom hinge pin. Then she's using the vice grips to take out the set screws, take out the hinge pins, and then she's using the bottom hinge pin to remove the top one. And there you can see her removing it. And then after that, all you have to do is remove the door. There you go. I pressed the wrong button again. Cool. Okay, yeah. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about button push combination locks. So these allow you access without needing an actual physical key. Oftentimes they might have a physical key inside of it. And you'll see these oftentimes on the outside of apartment buildings. For example, also if like apartment is being sold and real estate agents need access to it. Essentially, they're in places where multiple people will need access to a door inside. So these are the real estate boxes I was talking about. Sometimes they might include physical keys, it might include fobs. And the first exploit that you can use is obviously using fob cloning. So you can see here on the right-hand side, you have a proxmark. Nowadays, you can also use a flipper. For any of you that doesn't know what that is, I would highly recommend looking into it. It is very, very cool piece of technology. We also have one in the village. So again, feel free to swing by and ask about that. You can also use UV ink or powder, invisible ink. So essentially, you can use it to essentially reduce the space of the password and reduce it from to a few amount of numbers essentially. So you would come in maybe during the morning, apply the UV ink, and then after seeing someone grab the box, you can come back later, see which buttons have been pressed, and then try all the possible combinations. And then a bonus fun fact is you can also use, because some of the UV ink, some brands of UV ink or powder can transfer, you can also see you can also infer the order sometimes of the combination from just the transfer, essentially. And then sometimes you don't even need UV ink. As you guys can see here, sometimes it is very obvious what the combination is. You can also use default codes. For the simplex lock, for example, the default code from the factory is 2 and 4 at the same time, and then 3. Oftentimes, people won't bother to set a new combination, and this is very much a pattern that we see where people are too lazy to change codes, change locks, and as a result, you have key-like locks where all you need is to buy one single key, and they'll open majority of that type of lock. So now I'll leave it to Matt to talk about interphones.
All right, so we're going to talk about interphones here. This is some of the most commonly seen security practices for large-scale residential complexes, apartment buildings, so on and so forth. There's going to be a very similar theme of changing your combination and master codes that Terry just talked about within this section as well. So these are the devices that let people into buildings, apartments, condo, and other high-rise buildings. They allow visitors to contact someone inside of the building, call them in, and then they get buzzed up. You'll see these very, very commonplace around most metropolitan cities. After this presentation, if you have one of these yourself at a building that you live in, or if you see them on the street, you're going to realize how easy it is and how unsecure they actually are. So again, master codes, they allow for you to configure the device itself, often information that is seen from the landlord or the building owner. Within Enterphones, a lot of these codes are available online if you search them up, knowing the brand that you use. There are around 4, at least within North America, 4 major brands of Enterphones that all use the same default master code, as well as similar keys, which we'll talk about in a second. But oftentimes people will not bother to set a new master combination. Once they install their device, they think, okay, great. We have this big electronic box that's locking our building. We're all set, not knowing that all that information is also available online and that would-be intruders would be able to access it quite easily. So we always advise that you change your combinations there. So there are several major companies that make Enterphones, again, in North America: DoorKing, DoorGuard, Linear, and Miracom. Enterphones are most commonly keyed alike, meaning that one key for each company can open the Enterphones for that entire company here. So if you have one DoorKing key, you have a key to all of the DoorKing Enterphones. Same with Miracom, Linear, so on and so forth. Once you have that key there, you'll be able to open up the panel with the corresponding key. You can find the unlocking mechanism, often the access relay port there, and then use something conductive to jump the mechanism itself, and it'll allow you to access the building as if you were buzzed in by a resident. This leaves no visible sign of entry and is oftentimes quicker than punching in the actual combination itself. You just take a paper clip or a little piece of metal, open up that key port, tap that button, and you're good to go, faster than it would take you to punch in 3 or 4 numbers. The door should unlock as if someone has buzzed you in, and then you'll be good to go as well. And then I'm going to pass it along to Terry for contact sensors.
There you go. So contact sensors are essentially magnetic sensors that sense the door, that use magnets in the door frame and in the door itself to detect if the door is open or closed. When the door is closed, the magnets will touch. It'll open. I forget if it's open or close the circuit, but anyways, it will detect whether the door is open or closed. And these are often used for as part of alarm systems. To bypass these, all you need is a magnetic probe, something like you can see over there. Honestly, though, you can also just use a compass to detect whether or not there are magnetic field changes along the frame of the door. Once you know that a contact sensor is for example, in one part of the door, you can use a proxy magnet to mimic where the contact sensor is, and then use your bypass method of choice to open the door. While keeping the magnet there, the alarm will not go off. I'll also be talking a little bit about passive infrared sensors. So there are 2 kinds I'm going to talk about. First of all is the request to exit sensors. So these are set up so that, for ease of access, for accessibility, where when someone is inside the door, inside the secured space, and is trying to get out, it'll detect that they're trying to get out. However, you can use a simple can of gas to trick the infrared sensor, because all an infrared sensor is detecting is detecting a change in temperature, right? And so you can use this can of gas, spray it at the contact sensor. It'll detect change of temperature, and it'll let you in. There's also alarm sensors to detect whether someone is inside. Same deal. And you can also use in this case, you're trying to prevent this change of temperature, and so you can use something like a space blanket, a tarp, anything that is insular to prevent that change in temperature and bypass it. I will leave unlocked and improperly locked doors to Matt.
So yeah, this is again going to be one of the easier physical security bypasses to look for. You just look for doors that are not shut properly or do not lock properly as well. So there's a whole bunch of reasons as to why a door will not be shut or locked properly, both in the way of human error and environmental error. Oftentimes, if you have a large workforce, your employees might leave a door propped open for convenience, especially if it's close to a smoking area or near a break room. You can have that you came into the building when it was open and propped up, and someone left clutter by the door, held it open, or the security guard closing, or the staff that was closing forgot to lock it at the end of the night, as well as environmental pressures such as air pressure difference, a warped door frame due to weather, poorly installed lock, or the door lock itself is not working, it's broken properly, or sometimes when there's just simply no lock there. So you see an example of this right here, where this double set of doors right here with a big sign that says, please keep this door closed at all times, is held open by a stool. So that's very interesting. These are all ones that we've seen ourselves. This is a rock that has clearly been knocked into the door either intentionally or by mistake that is holding this door open and preventing it from being shut. And then you have this set of lever locks right here where the lock itself has actually been completely cut out and there is no locking mechanism within the door itself. So even if that door is shut, someone intentionally or due to just negligence removed or broke the lock and simply left it like that. And then I'm going to pass it to Terry for some more creative ways of identifying physical security measures.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk about ceilings and windows and going around. So you can see here, these are just going to be like examples of stuff we've seen or, sorry, can you guys hear me? All good? Okay, cool. I feel like I'm, so yeah, you can see here an example where the cage of a up to a rooftop is locked, but when you go from the other side, there's a perfectly good ladder just behind it, and so you can just go. Oh, and so you can just go behind the ladder to go up the roof. Finally, well, you also have sometimes environmental factor. Hello. Higher. Hello. Okay, cool. I think I was covering the RF, the antenna. Great. So yeah, you have environmental factors. You can see tree, which allows you to very easily climb up the fence. Although to be honest, without any other deterrences, you can also very easily, without that tree, just hop a fence. You also need to be careful of ceilings. Oftentimes, that can be a big issue. So you can see, ceilings and like air vents can oftentimes be used to bypass any sort of locked door. And you can see here an example of one of our team members going into, during a pen testing engagement, going in through the roof, hopping over, and then you guys can see another point of view of them opening the roof panel from the other side, and then another point of view of someone already inside just waiting to receive him. Oh. And then that, oh, yeah. Last video, I'm just gonna fast forward, but you can see this being used actually in places in real life where a robber in a pharmacy is just passed through the ceiling and accidentally crashed down and then ran. And so yeah, that'll be it for our presentation. Any questions for us real quick? Otherwise, I will pass on to Billy to do Bypass 102, which is kind of the remediations of everything we've talked about during this talk. Very cool. Thank you, everyone.
So, no, it should be up on here. If there are any questions about Bypass 101, we'll give it another couple seconds while we pull up the 102 slides, since it often takes a minute to formulate in your head if you have a question. And if not, I'll jump right into the Bypass 102 content, because as you've noticed, everything is behind schedule. I will do my best to make this talk a little bit less than half an hour to get things back on schedule.